Hi friends, welcome to webcam. And in this video, I'm going to talk about CSS Combinator and Attribute Selectors. Okay, so for that, we have four types of combinators. And first is a descendant, then child selector, okay, and then adjacent sibling selector or general sibling selector. Okay, so what is this combinator or what is the purpose of combinator? So let's understand this on a diagram. So let's say I have a one div, and if there is a one more div, and I will say this is of green border. Okay, so in this way, if I have a two elements, so now we can say that they are in a relationship. Okay, what kind of relationship is that? So this is the parent, outer one is parent element, inner one is a child element. So this is parent and child relationship between two elements. Okay, and similarly, if I have one more element here with, okay, this border color, and again there is a parent and child relationship between this black border and red border element, but there is a relationship between these two green and red border element also, so that we call as a sibling. Okay, so when two elements have same parent, we will call them as a sibling, and combinators are used to represent the relationship between two elements. Okay, and based on that relationship, we would be able to add the property to that particular element. So let's see how this works. Later on I will talk on attribute selectors. Okay, so first we will see what is the descendant selector. Okay, so this DC, okay, this should be descendant selector. So meaning we are using, okay, so we are already using this selector, and if I have a H1, or instead of H1 I will go for the eval, or let me go with one more div. So this is the parent. So for the understanding purpose, I will add a class parent here. Later on, I will say class child one. Okay, child one. It is fine. Then next is another div I would like to add, and in this div, I will say class is child two. Okay, and inside a child one, I can add a list. Okay, inside a UL, I would like to add li of HTML, and again li of CSS. Okay, and yes, it is fine now. So in this way, we have a parent is the outer div. Then we have a in child one and child two divs inside a parent, and inside of that, let's say I have one unordered list, and I have to give the property to this li. Okay, so for that purpose, what we can do, we can use, or we are using descendant selector, that is a space. So what space will indicate if I say parent? Okay, and parent is a class, so I will add a dot parent space li. Okay, so what it will do, you can see here what it will do. The moment I say space, it will select all the element inside the that parent div, and no matter how deep they are, means how many parent elements are there for the li, irrespective of that, it will add property to all. It will add property to all, no problem. Okay, so I will say li, and I will say background color, and if, okay, not this, I, okay, I have to open this file, refractor. Okay, no problem, I will go here and I will open the file. And here we can see that the style has been added to each li item of this parent element. Okay, so this is how properties are given. If you wanted to give the property to the all the child, okay, then only. Mhm. Now what I will do, I will talk about this next child selector. So what is mean by child selector, or what is the difference between this descendant selector and child selector? Okay, so instead of space, if I use here as child selector, okay, so I'm using child selector, this symbol is used to specify the child selector. And here if I go and if I refresh, so you will see no properties are given to that li, even though they are child, but still this symbol will not add. If you want to add property to the all the li's, you need to use the space. But when we use this li, when we use this this symbol, this child selector symbol, what it will do, it will check for the element which is direct child of that parent div, and I am adding here direct child of parent div. Okay, and I will say here python. So now you can see the difference, that properties are given or properties are applied to the parent element, but not to the child of child element, right? So these properties are, means when we use the child selector, this symbol whenever we use, then properties will be only given or applicable to the direct child element. Okay, so now next element is adjacent sibling selector. Okay, what is mean by adjacent sibling selector? Okay, let's say I have a one parent with green, and this is a div, and I have a one p element or text element here. Immediately after, I mean, so I will, what I will do, I will say I have a one sibling here as a p or paragraph, and I wanted to add the property to this p only. Means what I'm doing, okay, you are get, if you get, or if you do not, I will add p, and if I will say web champ here, and I have to give the property to this p only. Okay, okay, and I have a p here. Okay, and even after this, I will add more p's. Okay, and I will say Java. Later on, I will say C sharp. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I am going to use the adjacent sibling selector. So let's understand adjacent sibling selector. The moment I say adjacent sibling. Okay, so you can understand that sibling reference or parent reference we cannot use. We should use the sibling reference. So what is the sibling? Sibling div is a sibling of p, right? Div is a sibling of p. And when I use the adjacent sibling selector symbol to add the property, okay, I should not use this. Instead of this parent, I should say div here, and div plus. Okay, and I have to select the adjacent sibling element. So this p is adjacent sibling. Adjacent means immediate. Okay, next sibling, immediately next sibling, not all siblings. Okay, so that is the difference, and you will get the difference by writing here, and you would be able to see that the webchamp and Python is only taken the properties, or properties are given to this element only. Means what? So this is what the first adjacent sibling, and this is what the first adjacent sibling element, right? So this is what, when means when div and immediately after div there is a p element, then and then only property will be given. If I add any other element, I will say h2 here. Okay, I will not add any content, but you can see that now Python is not an adjacent sibling to the div, right? Now Python is not adjacent sibling, means now this p element is not adjacent sibling to the div, and then it will not take the property for that particular p element. So this is how we can add the property to the css html elements from the css by using combinators. So these all are the combinator. They works based on the relationship between two elements. Okay, and if I want to add the property to all the element, all the sibling element, in that case I have a general sibling selector. Okay, and what is the purpose of general sibling selector? You can understand here by using this symbol, and this symbol is the representation of general sibling selector, and it will select all this Python, Java, C# and webchamp, all will be selected, because here also that is again it is a sibling selector. Okay, and if I go here and if I refresh, so all the element has, all the p has taken only adjacent sibling. Okay, only I am talking about adjacent sibling. Means if I have a p element in the child relationship, so this p will not take property. Okay, and if I say JavaScript, this JavaScript is not a adjacent sibling to div. Okay, it is a child to the div. Okay, it is inside a div, so we can say this is a child to the div, and child element should not take any property. And here you can see that JavaScript is not taking. If you want to add the property to the child, we have two selector, descendant and child selector. Okay, and if you want to add the property to the sibling elements based on the I mean, if two elements have the same parent, then we can use plus, or this means adjacent sibling selector or general sibling selector. This is how combinators works, and combinator help us to identify the relationship between two elements, and it will add the property based on the relationship. This is how it works. Okay, now next is CSS attribute selector. Means what we have seen many selectors. Okay, we have different selectors, so we are even in this video now we are also seeing this is a class selector. Then if we use div or element, that is a tag name selector, we have a id selector also, right? That is also I have discussed. And now if I wanted to add the property based on specific attribute, yes, that is possible in the CSS, and we can add that property. Means what? Okay. Okay, means what? I have to add background color to the specific div. Okay, I have a divs and multiple divs I have here, right? Multiple divs I have here. And what I can do instead of this, I will, okay, in this way I have a two. I will remove this every p. I will remove. Later on I will add the content for different element. Okay, so now I have a div and I wanted to add the only this background property to the this first child. Okay, there is a way we can directly use the class, but instead of doing that, I can say that, or I can use the attribute. Okay, and how to use the attribute? Okay, so after that specific element, who has the attribute value? Okay, attribute, this class is attribute, right? And which element has that class attribute? Okay, that should take properties. Means what? I will go here, and here you can see that. Okay, I will remove this child too. I mean, I am just removing attribute and to show you. Okay, if I do this, if I do not mention anything, it should take property to the all the elements, since all are div when we are giving property to the div. Now I wanted to filter out based on some condition, and that for that condition I have an attribute. So what attribute I have? I will say class. Okay, and since it is not taking, okay, I mentioned the class, but you need to mention a specific class. Means what? You need to use the, or you need to mention the value of that class also to identify. And I will say class, and this is okay, small c child one. And now what it will do, you can see here, it is taking up the property for the only first div. Why? Because that is the div only has child one attribute, right? So like this for the many, we have lots of attributes in CSS, and like this we can add many properties to filter out the element for whom we have to add the property based on this. Okay, let's say inside of this eval, I have something called anchor tag, and I inside a anchor tag I have HTML as a text, and in anchor tag we must have this href attribute, and there is one more attribute in the anchor tag. Anchor tag is used to add the links, right? Hyperlinks, and I will say target blank. And now I wanted to add the background color to this HTML2 only. Okay, I have to make the differentiate. This is HTML1 and this is HTML2. This is CSS1 and this is CSS2. I will make the difference so that it will be easy to identify what is happening. Okay, now I wanted to add the property to this only. And what I will do, I will say a anchor tag. Okay, and anchor tag is taken, and then I have to mention the attribute here, and I will say target. Okay, target is attribute, right? And target who has a value underscore blank. Okay, who has a value underscore blank. Similarly, what I will do, I will add more elements with different properties, or sorry, not the properties, I will say different attribute, and here I will change the attribute underscore self. Okay, so in this way I have added two anchor elements to the page, and based on this target attribute I have to add the properties. Okay, so what I will do, I will say target is equal to underscore blank, whatever the value would be there, same, it should be same. Okay, value should be same. If underscore is there, you need to right underscore there also to add the value. And after this, I can say that color should be brown. Okay. And I will say text decoration none. Okay, this is how I have added properties. And here you can see that for the HTML2 only, it has taken these properties. It has taken these properties. Okay, so this is how attribute selector works. Based on attribute selection, we can change the properties of form inputs, because we have many types of inputs. And if you wanted to add the style to the any specific type of form input, we can add based on attribute. This is the best selector to work with form design. Okay, now so far what we have seen, that we whatever the elements we have with this attribute, it will take property for all. If I say I have this is also blank, what it will do, it will add property to that element also. But now again I would like to, or CSS has provided some more symbols to filter the elements, HTML elements, even by using attribute also. Okay, what kind of elements we have? Let's say I have a title attribute, and I will say title, and I will just add a title. Okay, as a first child, just for understanding. Okay, and I will say title attribute title. Okay, this works with any number of elements. Okay, that is not I mean, any type of element will be taking this property if the condition matches. So now what I need to do, I need to, or I need not to use that, I have to focus on this. Okay, so next, when I have to add the property, if any word from that attribute value is containing means what? Because what I will do, I will say I have to add property if there is a child, title has child word, title value, title attribute value have a child word in the attribute value, then and then only I have to add the properties. Okay, what I will say I have to add the property to the div. Okay, I will just comment out this, and I have to add a property to the div. And if I say title, right, if I say title is equal to, and it is not taking up the property, if you can see that I have declared that child. And background color or background, okay, I will say red. So the condition is I have to add the property when there is a attribute, a title attribute, and which has a value of child. Okay, and what I will do, I will go here and I will refresh, and you can see that it is not taking up any of the property. It is not taking up any of the property to the element. Why? But we have a child here and here also, right? But still it is not taking, because it says it needs full value. When we do not use any symbol, it needs full value. And if I say first child, okay, you can see the difference here. It will take the property for the first child. Similarly, when there is a child only, okay, what other words are there, or what is the title for that, I don't care. If that title contain a child word, it should take the property to that element. For that purpose, we have this symbol. Okay. Now what I will do, I will go here and I will refresh. And here you can see that we have a first and second child. We don't mentioned second child or first child in full. We said only if there is a word, if there is a word called child in the title attribute, take these properties to that particular element, and it is taking up, right? So this is how this symbol help us to select. Okay. Now, if I wanted to select the properties, if there is a specific word in the attribute, but when means if I have to say that, I have to say that if there is a that mentioned a specific word or the value in a such a way that it is followed by that word is followed by hyphen, right? In that case only, okay, if I use this, it will not take property to this below element. You can see here, right? And it is taking the property for the exactly matching. In my case now, this should not happen. If there is a first is there in the title, and if there is a something that is, I mean, if any title that has first word and followed by hyphen, then again it should take the property. In that case, I can use this vertical line. Okay, and what it will do, it will check, it will ignore the space and all, whatever the difference, it will check the first word is matching. Yes, there is a first, there is a first, and even though there is a hyphen, it will consider this one also. Okay, so this is how it works, and it has taken. Okay, first is there. Yes. So this is how it works. If there is a hyphen and if you want to add the property to that element, you can use this symbol. Now, if you want to check if any attribute value is starting with that specific word, okay, and for that purpose, we can use this symbol here. Okay, and if you have to space shift 6 on your keyboard, and it will add this. So it will check if any attribute value is starting with first or not. Okay, and based on that, it is adding the properties. Okay, based on that, it is adding the properties. If I will add one more div here, you can see that it is not picking up based on any other condition. It is checking for the it is checking for this element only, means this first value only. If the first value is there, and if I say 1, okay, intentionally I'm adding this value here because I have to show that if there is a title that is not getting started with the first, then it will not take the property for that element also, right? This is how this vertical angle symbol will help to select the elements if it is getting started with that attribute value is getting started with the mentioned word. Okay, similarly, if you want to go ahead, right, and if you want to go ahead and if you want to select the property, if there is a child, if there is any attribute whose value is ending up with child, so here I can say that here we have a child, here we have a child, here we have a child. But in that case, you need to use the symbol called dollar. Whenever you use the dollar symbol, what it will do, it will check for the mentioned word. If there is any title attribute who has that word at the end, then only that properties will be picked. I will say in child to so to make the differentiate, and it will not take the property for that to child to wala. Okay, and it is taking up the property where we or where it found the child attribute. So this is about attribute selector. Last attribute, in case. Okay, so now we have a child to here, and the properties are not taking up for this. But in case if you want to add the property, no matter where child is sitting, okay, whether it is sitting at first position or whether it is sitting at second position, no matter, if the child is there, it should take the property. It means if child word, that specific mentioned word, whatever value we mention here, if that is exist in the, okay, exist anywhere in the attribute value, it should take the property. In that case, here you can see that we have a child at starting, here we can see that we have a child at middle, here we can see that we have a child at last. And I want to add the property to all these based on this only. If there is a child, it should take the property. And if I refresh this, okay, it is taking up the property for the child, where child ending with child. Now I wanted to add the property to all the elements where title attribute has, or title attribute value contain child word. Okay, for that purpose I need to use this star symbol. Okay, and if I go here and if I refresh here, you can see that no matter where the child is sitting, it will take the property for that element. So this is how different selectors works. We have seen that what and all selectors are there. If there is nothing, we don't mention anything, that is fine. If we use this symbol, we can use this symbol. We used this symbol also, and we used this one also to identify the starting, if that attribute value is starting with mentioned element or not, mentioned value or not. Then we used to check with end values, and we used star. So these all 5 symbols we have discussed with respect to attribute selectors, how they help us to identify the specific element with specified attribute. Okay, so this is a very important when you with respect to design the web pages, and this saves you a lot of work. So thank you so much for watching this video. I would like to conclude this video here. Hope this information, whatever the content I shared here, would be helpful for you.